Ho ho ho, and season's greetings to all you out there, especially gamers. Most importantly, I should say, cold air is settling in. The holidays are just around the corner, depending on which one you celebrate. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. Happy holidays, that is. But most importantly, another Star Wars movie is just over the horizon. Yep, you can tell just how psyched I am. And, well, let's finish up this LEGO Star Wars saga with the remaining games in the series. And yes, of course, there's another one just around the corner for next year, which is going to fill in the gap and tie the loose ends with the ones that it didn't cover in the LEGO franchise. But to fill in the time and, well, while waiting for the next movie to come out, let's talk about the remaining ones that I have yet to talk about, starting with LEGO Star Wars 3. Yeah, based off the Clone Wars movie. Do I really even dare look at this one? Let's take a look, shall we? Alright, well, as you can tell, I'm playing the version on Nintendo Wii. Yeah, I'm technically going old school here. Start it up. And, well, it actually doesn't look too bad. Music sounds pretty good. Got the classic intro. And, well, you get the story, which, well, okay, yes. Let's get a few facts straight here, shall we? First off, this is not based off of the 2008 film, which I know was widely panned, and yes, I did watch it, and it was enough to leave a bad taste in my mouth. It's actually based off of the TV series which followed this movie, which I have heard was much more well received in comparison to the movie that it's based off of. But, of course, since watching this movie, I just didn't even bother because it was enough to leave a bad impression on me. But I sort of felt like I missed out a little bit, so you could say what you want. I don't really know too much about this series because I only caught a glimpse of this TV show, and the CGI is okay, but as we all know, CGI TV shows, some are good, but most of the time I'm just not too crazy about it. And it's kind of sad seeing how CGI is overused nowadays. So this game, keep in mind, I'm just running down with what I know, and, well, with a rather open and absent mind of the TV show, being that I really know nothing about the story and everything, I'm just giving my genuine thoughts of what I think of its gameplay and, well, gameplay mechanics and not so much the story and characters. And, well, to start with, yes, of course this is one of the earlier Star Wars games in the LEGO universe. There's obviously no spoken dialogue, so you gotta kind of make up what you think you know right off the bat, and that's kind of what I'm doing right here. It's humorous, it's silly, and it's as to be expected in a LEGO game. And while the graphics may seem a little choppy, but being that this is an earlier LEGO game on a Nintendo Wii console, I think I can cut it the benefit of the doubt right there. So as for gameplay wise, it's not bad. You start out in an arena, which is sort of like Gladiator a little bit. The controls and everything were a little wonky for some parts. I mean, it's playable, don't get me wrong. You have a 2-player option if you want to play, which obviously I'm not playing right now. And you play as some familiar characters, and other ones that, well, aren't as interesting. I'm only just saying that because I'm mainly familiar with the movie tied-in characters, and not so much from this TV show. But anyway, yes, you work your way and fight your way out of this arena against these animals, solve these puzzles, and if you played the previous LEGO Star Wars games, it should seem pretty familiar. You know, some use lightsabers and the Force, others use ray guns, some even get frickin' rocket guns. Yeah, frickin' sweet. Some can grapple, some can jump better than others. You get the point. It's nothing out of the ordinary for any of these LEGO Star Wars games. And so yes, you fight your way out of this arena, which is a pretty epic battle. You get to ride and control the animals to fight one another. Bunch of other shit, and then a cutscene. Yes, as I mentioned, there's plenty of cutscenes, that's to be expected. So after that, you're on the spaceship, and this is where you can, well, when you step on this thing, you get the map screen as an option, where you can choose between 3 different stories, which have 6 different chapters. You have to obviously beat one to unlock the other, so I'll do a quick run through, well, not every single one of them, but just to give the main idea of this game. To start with, you get this one where you're in what looks like a city skyrise. And he plays two guys, one of them being Anakin Skywalker, who we all know is going to be Darth Vader later on. I don't know how this connects to the whole Star Wars saga, being that this is based off Clone Wars, but yeah, you get the main idea. The controls, as I mentioned, can be a little clunky, and the camera can be a little iffy at some parts, but the main problem I think I have with this, it's playable, don't get me wrong, but the enemy selection, it doesn't have a lot of variety to it. And this isn't just for this level. Yeah, you get a whole horde, shit ton of enemies that surround you, and they respawn constantly. This could really get annoying for the most part, and yeah, they don't have a lot of variety to them, because most of the time, they're just a bunch of androids. They keep shooting at you, and even though this is a Lego game, so you get unlimited respawns, and it can be a little confusing to figure out. I mean, yeah, it's a Lego game, you have to expect a lot of problem solving. Make it to the rooftop, and make it out of here alive, and this is where they really swarm you to death. I mean, goddamn. You think they put enough in here? I mean, yeah, you can close the doors and try to keep less from coming, but they'll just keep coming anyway. The boss fight in this level actually is pretty cool. You fight him, and then he goes on this giant robot thing, and you have to climb onto the thing, and damn, he doesn't give up. It goes on for a pretty good length, and it's pretty creative. The next part you do choose between a couple of different stormtroopers. As I mentioned, one has a rocket gun, which is pretty cool, and the others have basic ray guns. But the one main character that you definitely would want to play as if you're a diehard fan is Yoda. Nothing better than seeing him kick some ass, use the Force with the lightsabers and all that. You get the point. And working your way through this, it's another on-foot mission. Wouldn't be so bad, except again, enemies keep respawning, and they don't have much variety to them. Some pretty cool boss fight at the end, but it is a little bit tedious trying to force these machine gun things at the end into the pit. I love how he takes out these machine gun things, how it's not the same every time you have to take them out, these big ass things. No, there's a different way to do it every time. Pretty cool, I will say. Now there's this next part where it seems like you're in the woods, where you're introduced to, as well as playing as, a Clone Wars only character, Ahsoka. Even though she may seem a little bit bland, she is pretty badass, though. And her moves are pretty basic. Lightsaber and Force. You also get to play as a Stormtrooper teaming up with you. And, yes, even Jar Jar Binks makes an appearance. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. So you make your way through, fight through a bunch of enemies and shit, and then work your way, which seems to be underground, and work your way through more puzzles and everything. Okay, and enemies come up on you, these android things. Pick the character with the lightsaber and Force. It'll take them out much easily. Characters with the ray guns, trust me, they don't do nearly as much damage. They're good with the grappling, obviously. So, while making and fighting your way through this underground level, Anakin's trainer, Obi-Wan, assists you in battle by operating this big-ass machine gun turret to help take the shields down, and then jumps in and joins your team. And yeah, I should also mention this gameplay mechanic by holding this button down and switching to another team member or two, if you're fighting for both one another, but in separate locations. This is a reoccurring gameplay mechanic that you're going to see several times throughout this whole game. But anyway, boss fight in this area, where you have to rescue Lady Love tied up with, Jar Jar Binks. Yes. I wouldn't have minded if it was just Jar Jar Binks. I would just let him sit there and get frickin' zapped like crazy. Except, well, you gotta rescue both of them. So, boss fight, and then you get to play as Jar Jar Binks. Yeah. Just like the previous game that he was in, Lego Star Wars 1 to be exact. He's good for jumping higher, and double jumping, I should say. But, give them credit, they actually made him a little bit better, because he can actually punch. Yeah, that's an upgrade compared to the last game. But still, it's satisfying as ever to see him get killed. Yeah, that's for Phantom Menace. And that's for Attack of the Clones. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, work your way through and flip-flop between these two players. I love how you can bomb stuff. Yep, there's characters that can throw bombs. Yeah, you're destroying stuff. And I love especially how you can use the lightsaber to break through a wall. Well, if you can, that is. And I especially love how, I should also mention, being that this is on the Nintendo Wii, the Wii remotes have, well, sound effects coming out of them, as you can tell. Whether it's the lightsaber, ray gun, rocket gun, or even the guns out of the spaceships. But now we're jumping the gun here. Or, no, we're not, actually, because the next mission is, of course, a flying one, and, well, it's playable, don't get me wrong, but it would have been great if the camera angle was a little bit better. Yeah, this game definitely has occasional camera control problems, and in these flying missions, especially this one in particular, it tends to be a bit of a problem, because, well, it gets in the way. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to be able to see what you're flying to? You know, what's in front of you? Yeah, looks like they should have played Star Fox, because, well, it's certainly not on that level. But give them credit, it's playable, as I mentioned. You fly around, you shoot shit, but a lot of times you have to land in certain spots to shoot other parts of other ships, or activate switches, or activate these torpedo things, which, yep, you get these once again, and launch them at the intended targets. Most of these flying missions are pretty much very similar. I don't think I have to explain most of these, but they are fun. Playable, mindless, but enjoyable. Getting back to this mission in particular, there's another one after this where you are on foot once again. You have to break through a wall by commanding an army playing as a stormtrooper. You break through these things in a very specific manner. You get to ride this big machine thing. Get all these creature things to go on these switches, open up this big door. I mean, damn, this is freaking awesome. This one's probably my favorite mission, at least my favorite on-foot mission to be exact. And summing this story up at the final chapter, that is, number 6 to be exact, is what looks like a turf war. Yes, you have to take out different turfs and, well, build yours on top of theirs once they're defeated. It's as basic and straightforward as could be. Can be a little annoying being now, most of the time you don't collect these Lego pieces. Yeah, it's best to collect the blue ones, but you really have to in order to be able to afford these things because that's what they cost. Yeah, and some of them are pretty damn expensive. Building barracks, cannons, things to learn machines, shields, and of course you can take shields out much easily than you think. All you have to do is just walk through them. They only block weapons. And then you have to walk through the front gate and take it down. Yep, and you win the turf war. This isn't the only one. There's several more in this game. They're very similar, but not the same, you know. It looks all like the same layout pretty much. But for the most part, you probably get the idea once you play through this one. Now moving on to another story, chapter 1 to be exact, you get, well, some more familiar faces if you've seen the movies, that is, like the androids. Yes. Well, it's not R2-D2, it's instead, well, a rival android that deceives you. But thankfully you do get R2-D2 later on, and they duel it out. It's pretty cool, I will say. And that's not the last mission you get to see or play as him. And not to mention you also get another familiar android, C-3PO. Yeah, pretty cool. Unfortunately, just like the last couple LEGO Star Wars games, he has no other purpose than to just, well, activate computer devices. Yeah, R2-D2 can do the same thing, but at least he can float and zap enemies. C-3PO, unfortunately, looks like the Tin Man. And it's especially hilarious when he loses body parts. I mean, I can't say that much more. But otherwise, yeah, the mission that they're both in together, well, the teams are split and you have to switch back and forth between them. That's good teamwork right there. You're on the ship, work your way through, fight enemies, activate devices, and even get to control the freaking ship and, well, try to crash it into the moon. Yeah, gotta get out of there before it crashes, which you do, of course. I know there's several other chapters in this story, but the other one I want to jump to quickly, not to jump the gun or anything like that, but I just want to try to sum this game up the best I can. And to perfectly sum up this story, majority of it is turf wars. As I explained before, there's several of them in this entire game. And even though it may seem like the same thing, well, it does add some variety into it as well, the mission objectives and the characters that you have to play as in order to get through it. There's also a flying mission and another one that's obviously not a turf war, but you get the point right there. A bit monotonous and repetitive, but pretty satisfying and enjoyable. Many fans that have watched this entire series all the way through have pinpointed that they did leave out some key moments in episodes that should have been included in this game, but hey, they can only include so much, am I right? It has a pretty good soundtrack, you have the scroll things at the beginning of each chapter that definitely gives that good Star Wars feel. It sounds cool, it's funny, it's silly. And for a Wii game, I honestly gotta say there's not really that many motion controls, which I'm actually kinda glad it doesn't have. I mean, some games like these shouldn't have that. It should maybe be an option, but it shouldn't dictate the game's control mechanics. So to sum it up, I think I gave my genuine impression. And I apologize if I left some things out that you might pinpoint, but I think I said more than enough about this game that needs to be said. It may not be the best in the LEGO Star Wars franchise, but it's still pretty enjoyable.